even to listen to their other arguments, I'm not sure how they hold up. I feel as if a lot of these arguments or beliefs are easily tested, and I just don't understand why they don't do that. Like, none of them can really agree what exactly the Earth looks like, whether it has a dome or not, or you know, what's at the edge or anything. But I would say a common belief is that it looks like what I would call like a pizza shape. It's flat, and the North Pole would be the center of the pizza, and the outer rim, the crust, is what we would call the South Pole, but they say is an ice wall that protects the water from running off the edge of the Earth. Now, they also say that the governments of the world are protecting this ice wall to keep it a secret from the rest of us. But you don't think anyone would just go and take a picture of it? How come there's no pictures of the ice wall?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I feel like as intent as a lot of the flat earthers are, they would be trying to, prove by fact and by pictures and evidence that the earth is flat. So they would have to present these things. But that's a great question. I would love to know some rationale into why they don't just do that.
Right. And plus, if you look at a map of, like, you've seen the Mercator map, right? The flattened Earth map that we had in like school and stuff, and it makes it's distorted because the Earth is round, and we're displaying it on a flat map. So you get weird distortions closer to the poles, like Greenland looks like it's the size of South America,
Right.
which it's not. Yeah. But on a flat Earth map, you get the same types of distortions. So if you were to look like, let's say it's laid out like they say it is, and the center of the map is the North Pole, and the outer edge is an ice wall. Well, if you just think about scale, let's say you measure something in the middle of the United States, and you say, well, we happen to know this is 50 miles apart, so therefore, whatever, half an inch equals 50 miles, so whatever size map you have, Then if you try to do the exact same scale in the southern hemisphere, like for, let's say, Australia, then it doesn't make sense, because you could go to Australia and measure out 50 miles, then look on the map, and it doesn't line up.
Right.
So wouldn't that tell you that you're going in the wrong direction?
That should be a very clear indication.
Right. I mean, isn't that we don't even need like specialized equipment to do that. You could just reset the tripometer in your car and drive 50 miles in one direction. And then you'd roughly call that, maybe it wouldn't be accurate to like, a tenth of an inch or something like that, but it'd be roughly accurate.
Yeah.
What's so difficult about that? I don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of these, examples that you could throw out there that kind of like automatically shut down that flat Earth. But it's a little bit entertaining to have all of this, these examples and all of this knowledge to know that the Earth isn't flat, and all these tests to prove it, and then people still just want to disagree.
Yeah, I find it entertaining, but I also find it troubling.
Well, yeah, I agree with that too, because it's not just like it's a kind of people wanting to just disagree to disagree. This is like a solid belief, like a solid.
Yeah, and they fight to the end over it.
Yeah, and it does get pretty frustrating because, something so simple. I didn't want to get into this so early, but something as simple as like the sunset. Almost similar to that.
Yeah.
But like the sun will set in like the East Coast in the United States, but it's not like that same way in the West Coast.
Right. Well, and the way they try to prove that is they say that the sun and the moon and everything we see in space isn't as far away as all the scientists say it is. They say that it's very close to us and that it's more like a spotlight that revolves around the North Pole, which doesn't make any sense because if it was flat,
Yeah.
even if it was on the other side of the map, you'd be able to look out and see it.
Right. Yeah.
But they say you can't because you'd be looking through that much atmosphere.
I'm confused.
Yeah, I find it entertaining, but I also find it scary in the fact that they're using their platforms to convince other people. And I feel like all of this can be easily disproved, but most of them won't take the necessary steps to disprove it, like to go to the ice wall.
Right.
And they'll have an excuse. They're like, no, the military's protecting that and they'll kill you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
will they?
Yeah. So
Then how come you can go on like a trip planner and order a tickets to Antarctica?
Yep. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Does the theory of gravity have anything to do with the flat Earth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another good one. So, the reason why our planet is round and we look up and we see everything else is round, like the sun and the moon and all the other planets in our solar system, is because of gravity. So when you say that, they say, well, see, that's the thing. Gravity doesn't exist. And then you say, well, how are you stuck to the Earth? And they can't explain it, but they have theories. So one of their theories is, have you ever taken like a balloon and like rubbed it on the carpet and then you could like stick it to someone's...
Yeah.
So it's like static cling, right?
Yep.
Okay. So one theory is that the Earth has a static field which causes all of us to cling to it.
Okay.
But the problem with that is if you talk to any type of like electrical engineer, they'll quickly tell you that the amount of static cling it would take to hold all of us down, we would not be able to have the electronics we have. It just doesn't work that way. We would have circuit boards that are short circuiting all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how does that affect like vehicles and planes? Like, is that still the same?
How do you explain an airplane?
Yeah.
Well, then another idea they have is because they see that they take little tidbits that scientists say and then they co-opt them for themselves, but they don't normally fully understand everything. So, we can measure gravity. We know the rate in which gravity works. So one of the things they're saying is that we are on a flat disc or a pizza-shaped thing, but we are accelerating upwards at that speed. So therefore, that's why things are falling down, because they're not actually falling down. The ground is coming up at us at that speed. But the issue with that is if that was the case, in just a couple years, or maybe even less, you'd reach the speed of light, which, Einstein talks about space-time and not being able to travel faster than light or even at the speed of light. So how do you account for that?
Yeah, that's
If we were constantly accelerating.
yeah. Like the Earth is spinning. Like
No. They're saying it's like a pizza and it's going upwards and we're standing on the bottom of it or on the top of it.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. That seems so ridiculous.
Yeah. and then when you dive deeper into it, it just gets more and more like conspiracy ridden, like how do I say this? It sounds like everybody is in on it. So like so far from what we've talked about, they blamed all the countries in the world. And they also blame some large religious groups, like they'll say like, the Vatican and the Pope know about this and they've known about it forever. But even past that, so one of the operations or nuclear test programs that the United States had was an operation called Operation Fishbowl, which took place in the Solomon Islands. And we were talking a little bit about this off camera, but it was where they did high altitude nuclear tests because they wanted to know what would happen if enemies did that to us. You know, could it knock out satellites? Could it knock out ground communications? Could it cause some type of like electromagnetic storm? And so we did that, which I don't think is one of our smarter moments, nuking the atmosphere. But we did, and we did it several times, and it was all part of this Operation Fishbowl, and it happened in 1962. And flat earthers will cite this as I guess evidence that the U.S. government knows that we're living on a flat plane, because some of them believe that there is a dome over us, or they'll cite the Bible and they'll call it the firmament, and they'll say that is what's containing all of our air and everything else inside of the area we live in. And they say this 1962 experiment that we did with nuclear weapons was an attempt to blow a hole in it so that we could escape our prison that we live in. If we live in some dome, but that's easily disproved for the fact that we've had satellites and other things when they hit the dome.
Yeah.
But going back to that belief, generally people that say that the Operation Fishbowl was something to an attempt to blow a hole in it. They also say, and I took this off of Wikipedia. It says, in addition to these, it is their common belief that the United States government has a plan to create in Europe a new America open to everyone, where the only value is consumerism, and that George Soros will command a satanic globalist conspiracy. They reject the past instances of dinosaurs, Darwinism, the theory of evolution, and the authority of the scientific community, and they claim that they're all part of the Freemasons.
Oh my goodness.
So it's like
it's
like as you start to tumble down this hole, it just gets more and more. So George Soros is commanding a satanic what?
And what does that have to do with the flat earth? This is so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Well,
oh, man.
I feel as if the flat earth is more of a mindset of distrust. You know, they distrust in our governments, and they like when we say when the government says this is what's going on, they go, oh well, we can't believe them.